Welcome to part 5 of the coilover install on the C4 Corvette. Working on getting it set up right now. First thing I'm going to show you is actually how to assemble these Viking Crusader shocks. Pretty self-explanatory, but quick process, so I figured I'd show it to you guys anyways. As you can see here, I've got one assembled already. First thing you're going to do is you're going to put this lower spring perch on right there. And this is actually like a locking lower spring perch, so you don't actually have another locking nut. Then you're going to put the spring on, and then you're going to put your top hat on, and then you're going to put the little, like a slider mounting bracket for the lower control arm on, and that's got 2 snap rings. So I'll set up the camera so you guys can just see a quick time lapse of that, and then I'll move to the rears. So that was the assembly of the front coilovers. I'm going to do the rear coilovers now. Same basic stuff, nothing too surprising here. Got your lower spring perch, which is, got a bolt in it to lock it in place, and you got your top spring perch. So let's do that. All right, about to start installing the front now that we got the coilovers together. The big thing for the front is you've got a little mounting bracket for the top shock mount to use these double spherical bearing eyelets, whatever you want to call them. Get that into, there's that bracket. You can kind of see, I can keep that up. There's a little recess there on that bracket. So that recess actually has to fit essentially into this hole. You're gonna go up through this way, fit that recess into that hole, and then you're gonna tighten it down with the wash and lock nut on top. First, you just want to do enough kind of by hand so you can kind of move it and rotate it. That way you can get the coilover in there easily. And then you'll torque it down to, I think it's like 28 foot-pounds. All the torque specs are included with After Dark Speeds coilover kit. They got fairly decent instructions, so all that torque information is in there. But yeah, very similar and simple to taking the shocks out. So now we'll just kind of do it in reverse and put these shocks in. front, and we're about to start with the rear. First thing you have to take care of with the rear is you're going to have to install 2 brackets. The first one looks like this. This is the top mount bracket. And that actually is going to go right where the stock shock mounts up. So that'll go up in there. I'm not 100% sure on which orientation it is. I believe it's going to be this orientation.
Offset towards the front.
Yep. Okay, that's what I was guessing based on just how that rear mount is. One thing that you're also supposed to do, I believe, is actually remove this bump stop. So I don't know if we have to do that or not, but we'll look at that. And then the other mount is this big honking thing. And this is actually a big reason why I went with this kit. Some of the other kits like Van Steel, they essentially use, let me get down underneath the car here. Your stock mounting location is this, sorry, trying to, is that ear right there. And a lot of people, what they end up doing is they essentially create a mount on here that essentially just goes straight out. And I didn't really care for the leverage point that was making. So this mount actually uses that bottom, and then one of the, yep, I can't kind of see it there. It's going to go in with that kind of top control arm, I guess you'd call it. So it mounts off in 2 places, which just I think is going to help with the loading. My concern with just putting something here was cracking that. I've seen kind of mixed things. People say don't do it whatsoever. They've never had an issue, or the only time they've seen an issue is someone cracking it and then welding it together and then it breaks. Which I guess the question is, why was it cracked in the first place? Which, you know, you don't really get as an answer. So I'd rather be safe than sorry, and went with this mount. But I'll get the camera set up and go through that. All right, well, we're all done with the coilover install. There's the front. And those rears. Nothing quite like some new coilovers. Probably the biggest issue we had on the rears was trying to find, it comes with a 12-point bolt to mount this bracket here. And originally I was kind of like, oh, how are we going to torque this? Because the socket wouldn't fit in there. There just wasn't enough room. And yeah, you're supposed to use a wrench. So that worked. But you'll see there's a couple other things we did on the rear, as far as we installed the shock without a spring and jacked up the suspension. And that's because as part of the instructions, there's a set height that you kind of want to have the car at before you torque this bottom mount down. So that's what you kind of saw going on there. That's all covered in the instructions. Didn't have a torque wrench to do 140 foot-pounds for this rear one, so you saw just using a breaker bar and going ham. But for now, that's the front and rear coilover install. So I guess the next thing is headers. Keep it shiny side up.